we're praying all the time. But part of that was a kind of feeling of moral superiority. And our next door neighbors were a different religion, and they had the same feeling of moral superiority. And we all did this, and we all got along fine because we weren't imposing stuff on each other. We were trying to get them to come to our church's youth group, and vice versa and all that. But we had this sense that we had the right moral answer. So my father was coming home from work one day, and I was on the porch with my friends after we played. And as he was going into the house, he heard me say the following. A woman had moved 2 houses down. He said, he's heard me say, and you think guys don't gossip. He heard me say to my friends, she's divorced and there's a man living with her. And my father stopped. And he told my father was a huge, powerful man with the deepest voice I ever heard, gentle as a lamb. But when he got angry, his nostrils flared. I think in all my life he was angry maybe 4 times. This was one of them. And he stopped and he looked at me. I thought, uh-oh. So he asked my friends to leave, and he said, I have to talk to you. And he said this. He said, our faith is our relationship between the God of our understanding and us. And nowhere does it give us permission to judge him. And he said, if I ever hear you doing this again, you're in trouble. Now, all I was thinking of is, Daddy, please don't be mad. I didn't realize that this was really penetrating. I really didn't. He used to bring me Good and Plenty's every day because that was my favorite candy. So after he yelled at me, I thought, is he going to give me Good and Plenty's? And he didn't. And I thought, he's really pissed. So anyway, I've kind of carried that with me in my life. My belief system doesn't give me the privilege or the right to condemn or do anything to anyone else. I could never have conceived my father, deeply devout man, protesting this, that, or the other thing. He couldn't do it. Now, he would believe for himself that it was wrong to do certain things. For example, he did believe divorce was a sin for him. He and my mother went through some rocky times, and they stayed together because they believed divorce was a sin. But he didn't believe that our good friend 2 houses down was sinning, because that wasn't his business. That's not his business. So that's the personal piece of this. And the second piece is from, I would say around 1980, something started to happen with religion. Now, I know that people always voted in some degree on the basis of faith. And that's fine. It's all fine. I'm not judging anything. What started to happen around 1980 was a man named the Reverend Jerry Falwell, the Reverend Pat Robertson, started to realize how deeply committed a certain group of religious people were in this country. And this is not a secret. I mean, this is open. They said, we can take over politics in this country. And that's when things started to shift. If I had been teaching in the 70s, I wouldn't do this, because religion really was about faith. And sometimes we would talk to people about, well, why don't you come to my church? But it really was about faith. It wasn't about trying to spend tens and hundreds of millions of dollars getting somebody into office so that some of the tenets of my faith would be part of legislation. It wasn't about that. But so when my student said to me, why don't you talk about this, I said, you're absolutely right. I'm a social science professor at a public liberal arts college, and this is a social issue. Not faith, but the imposition of particular tenets of faith into politics. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's not illegal. I'm just saying, could we perhaps think critically about what we're told to believe that then starts to become legislated, that maybe there are some different ways to think about it. Some of you in this room will say, no, I'm not going to think critically. Some of you in this room say, that's interesting. I'm still pretty firm with my belief. But that's an interesting perspective. And some of you say this is a new perspective. It's not my job to tell you where to go with this stuff. It's just that sometimes what we hear over and over and over again is not necessarily the whole story. That there's more to that than what we hear. I would also point out that religion has been used, not faith. Let me keep saying that I separate these two. Religion has been used to keep certain people in power at the expense of other people, and selective passages have been taken to do that. One, probably the most profound, and I'm not going to mention the religion because they stopped doing this and I don't want to hurt anybody, but a major religion in this country kept African Americans from becoming members by quoting Ham in the Hebrew Bible If any of you know the story, Ham disrespected his father Noah, and so God expelled him and turned his skin dark. And this particular religious group said people with dark skin are disfavored by God. Really, really, truly. Until there was such social disapproval of that, they finally changed that. But for many, many, many years, there was a major religion that used a piece of scripture to keep a certain group from being part of their religion. And I would say that most of the people in the world that identify with religion are also parts of religions that don't allow women clergy and certainly don't allow women in the hierarchy of their religion. And they will point to